Good morning. We are waiting for a few more people to sign on, and then we will begin the broadcast. Thank you. Good morning and welcome. This is Megan Mansfield from the Accordant Company. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar from CREPortals titled Access Your Sage 100 Contractor Data with CREportals.com. Our presenter today is Wes Adams, owner at CREportals and a consultant for Accordant. Before we get started, I wanted to address a few housekeeping items. Everyone is muted for a clean listening experience. If you have any questions, please type them into the questions box. We will collect the questions and address them at the end of the session. For the best viewing experience, please maximize your screen. Today's webinar is being recorded, and a link to the webinar will be provided by email. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Wes.
Thank you, Megan. Good morning. Thank you all for joining. As Megan mentioned, my name is Wes Adams, owner of CREportals.com, and I have been, as a matter of background, I've been a Sage 300 CRE consultant, Timberline, for about 25 years. Worked with Accordant for the last 12 or so, maybe 14. Doing some consulting work, as well as building web portals for their clients, as well as some other clients. Another background, I have a web portal for Sage 300 CRE. I have one for the property management side that also ties in for Sage 300. And then I have this web portal for Sage 100 Contractor. This is basically a web portal. It sits on top of your data. We host on Amazon Web Services. And it has the functionality, the same functionality as well as additional functionality that you would get directly out of Sage 100. So it's built specifically for that. It's not a product that you have to change your workflows based on new software. The screens and the data is exactly the same because I'm interacting with your data. We don't copy your data. We are interacting, reading and writing data directly into your database. So your Sage data remains in place. We don't have to make a copy of it. We're working directly over the web. So it works with both on-premise, so if you have your software on your own servers. It also works if you host it somewhere, like for example, SwissNet or other, or Azure, anything like that. We have an unlimited user model, which means that even if you have 2 uses of Sage internally, that can actually log into your Sage 100 contractor database, we have unlimited users for employees, for project managers, for accounting, even for clients or customers that may want to make a payment, for example, or see some history. So unlimited users. It's completely web-based, so as long as you have internet connection, whether that's on a laptop, tablet, phone, you can work in the system. It's responsive in nature in that it will adjust to the size of the screen that you're on. Now I have a large screen, so you'll be able to see a lot of information, but the forms and the grids all adjust to the size of the screen. Single source of truth, meaning that if you enter an RFI, for example, in the web portal, we're entering that directly into Sage. So you update Sage directly, everything remains in your database, and we don't have to go somewhere else for that data. It's a low-code platform. So this has been out for about a year. We had a good number of early adopters. that came out last October. And we had some general functionality, and over the past year, I've added a lot more functionality. It's a low-code platform, meaning that you need features, I can add them very quickly. Me or my team can add those new features, and I'll show you a lot of that, kind of those features that that have been added over the last year or so. Has both project management and service management functionality. And one of the big things that a lot of clients have been asking for is a self-service payment portal. Clients can log in, they can make their payment, they can print their invoices, things like that. So, and this is the shortest slide. I just have one more, just in case you have any questions. Feel free to contact me directly or contact Mike Fiducia at Accordant. So let me minimize this. So this is the web portal. I'm already logged in as a demo user. Again, this is all completely web-based. I have two databases that I connect to with my login. One, this demo account that I'll be working in, which is super old data. And then one for Accordant, they host theirs on Swissnet. I host mine internally. So you can connect them anywhere. If you subscribe and you have more than one database, I can connect to as many. It's the same low price. Doesn't matter how many databases that you have. So I'm going to go through some general functionality very quickly as far as, if you use project management in Sage 100 Contractor. I'm going to show you, how you can interact with that data. More importantly, but the data is going to be the same, right? You can see the same fields, same screens, some same functionality. Then I'm going to go that pretty quickly, and then I'm going to go through functionality that enhances the workflow that you can't really get out of Sage 100. And then I'll take some questions. We can talk about maybe some problems that you may be having that you're looking for a solution for. So when I first log in, it assumes that I'm going to be a project manager. So I'm going to be directed to my project center. This leverages the job access list that you have in Sage. So if I can only see certain jobs, I only see those jobs in my list. So you'll notice that we have, this is our grids, so we can show, any, basically just a list of anything that you may want. We can use search something, we can look for like post office, for example, and it'll look through any field in here very quickly to be able to see what data you may be looking for. We also have filters. And then we can sort by any number of these columns just by clicking on, so basic interaction. One functionality that that we have is we can add a new job from here in the portal, and it'll add those into Sage, and then you can interact with that data. Real quick on this current job list, I'm just going to kind of go through some different features. We can drill down and see a list, a report on budget versus actual cost. So very quickly, your project managers made it. They don't need you to run a report for them. They can see that data very quickly just by clicking a button. They can also see cost details on these jobs, or they can print a report. I use Crystal Reports as my report engine. So not the Sage 100 Contractor Report Designer, but just a Crystal report. So in this list as well, we can also map out my current jobs on a Google map. Now all these in this test data, or it's in California, but you get the idea. We can jump back to Project Center. We have job summaries, so quick information on profitability on jobs. We run report packages, another feature where we can run multiple reports in one PDF with a table of contents. This is great for end of the month, or project managers need to see a bunch of different reports. We can load those up and you'll be able to see those in one report. We can even schedule these to be sent out via email on a schedule. We're tracking multiple, any activity that you're doing in the portal in your activity feed. And we have some general charts, Gantt chart across multiple jobs. Let me jump into this job real quick. So I can either get here by clicking on this hyperlink, or I can click the home page. Now inside this job, we have your general information about this job. Again, this is all set from Sage. Changes here. We can add, this is a kind of a new feature here, but we can add a distribution list in Sage, I'm sorry, in the portal that says when I add an RFI or I add a submittal or I create a PO, whatever that happens to be, maybe I want to send an email to my distribution list that says there's some activity on the job. And you can set that distribution list. Now, the list of these users comes from my contacts tab. This is the same, general contact tab that you would see in Sage. So you can add vendor contacts in a pop-up grid or client contacts, pre-fill from any subcontracts you may have written as well. I'm going to go through this one pretty quickly and then jump into some other functionality. You have inside, now this is all content specific to the project that we're in. So you get your project, your job summary, profitability, different reports, different drill down grids, budget versus actual. Again, we can add as much information to this as you may need. Bid items, if you use the estimating module. AP summary shows any open or paid invoices specific to the job that we're in. You can drill down, see any details on that invoice, in those invoice line items, and then any notes associated with that. And we can also update the notes in Sage as well, but you would see that here. Green shows that there's a note, blue is no note, and then if I were to add a note for invoice, it turns green. And again, that updates Sage. RFIs, a list of the RFIs on this job. I can add an RFI, go through the process. It adds that directly into Sage. Also on this, and I can edit kind of, what's on this RFI. You know what this information is. Question, answer, any notes, and then an activity on that. So if you update this, change the status, it updates Sage. Again, everything here is a live update, live feed to the data. You can also add attachments. So these attachments would be saved in the portal, but we add that as a file link in Sage. So you can see all of your documents, any attachments that you would have for this RFI or across all these project documents in Sage as well as in the web portal. And then you could see those. So that adds the document or the attachment that shows the attachments that you have, and then you can print this RFI. So project management documents, RFIs, subcontracts, POs. You can add POs, add change orders, submittals. I know I'm going through this fast, but you probably understand how Sage works on the project management side. You can add daily reports, punch lists, and finally, photos shows those documents that are photos that have been added to the daily report or the punch list. So these are specific to the job that you're in. So if I'm a project manager, I'm working in the field, I'm probably working on a job. So I would see, all my documents. Under my apps, I see, the same list of those things that I can do, but they're across all my different jobs. I don't have to go into each job. So you see all of them here. Same functionality, just how do you get to that data? Service, so that's the project management side. So we have some accounting functions as well. So if I'm in accounting, I can look for AP invoices, run an aging report by job or vendor, drill down, see notes. So all my open invoices, see open invoices aged. Generally speaking, your project managers or your guys in the field wouldn't be looking here, but we have some functionality for accounting as well. Same for accounts receivable. You can print these jobs. I'm sorry, you can print these invoices since they are, Sage invoices. And then, so job receivables and service receivables. And then clients as well. Jumping over to, we can add as many custom reports as you may want. Again, these are crystal reports. They would just be published here so you can run them. I don't have any in this sample company. Contacts. So this is good for managing any contacts that you have, adding new clients or adding contacts against that client. So general functionality to manage any contacts. Once you have them in your contact database, they will be available to be added to your jobs for your distribution list. And that's kind of the start of it, right? You add your clients, you add your contacts for vendors, add them to your jobs, add them to distribution, and it provides a kind of a mechanism for any client collaboration on your jobs or documents. Jumping into the service side, you have Service Center, which is basically shows all your open work orders, contracts, receivables. Now we do have the ability to have a customer. We can send these invoices to a customer. And in that customer, what happens here is, let's say we have collections activity, so we're tracking collections notes. I'm going to send this invoice, or I'm sorry, that prints the invoice. You get you'd be able to see this invoice, but you can send these out to your customers. So as soon as you create them in Sage, we don't create them from the portal, but as soon as you create them, they'll show up here in this list, and I can show you that, the interaction there. You can send this out. So I'm going to send this to myself. That's not a valid email. So basically, if I have payments turned on, this is it kind of pre-fills this, but a way to send your invoices out. Now, because I have payments turned on in this portal, I have a link in my email. This is an email I just got, where I can pay this invoice. So I can log into the portal, and I can show you that, and pay multiple invoices at one time. Or I can pay just by clicking in this link, which will take me to a hosted payment page. I use OmniFund for my payment, and I would make that payment. But if I wanted to log in, it would look like this. I'm not going to log in from there. I could log in from this. If I were to log in as Bob Smith, I'll show you what that would look like. But when I sent that, it added that to a collections notes. So I just sent it today. And then I can also track other activity as it relates to that invoice. But let's say I log in on Bob Smith. This is what I would see. It goes through and shows all open invoices, whether they are service invoices or accounts receivable, job-based invoices. And then from here, I can print that invoice. I can drill down, see that information. I can print a statement. I can see all my paid invoices. I would see any payments that I initiated through the portal to pay these open invoices, and any payment methods if I pay via credit card or via ACH. So a self-service customer-based portal that you can use, whether that's accounts receivable job-based invoices or service-related. A lot of clients that use service really wanted this feature functionality, so I added it. Part of that low-code kind of description that I mentioned before. Easy to add functionality to this. Now, as payments come in, I don't have it on this portal, but I have a different portal. You would see those payments come in, be able to see what those payments are, and be able to, they would kind of fill up this list to be able to update Sage with those payments as they come in. Back to Service Center, I can also use kind of a dispatch type board. So I'm going to go back and see some activity here. So I have a work order that's been assigned to Ron Garcia. He would be able to log in, see all of his activity or all the assignments on his. He can open that work order. He can punch in and out. He can also open a map to figure out how to get to this address, or he can delete the assignment if he can't go to the assignment. Now, the dispatch looks similar to this. It shows all those work orders that are available to be dispatched, and then I can assign those. So assign it to Ron, for example. These are my drop-down lists. I can just start typing. Priority, let's do this today for 8 o'clock in the morning, and it should take 4 hours. And I'll email the technician. Now, that adds it to the schedule, gets it out of my list here to schedule, updates the dispatch board in Sage, and I also got an email that I have somewhere to go. So if that assumes, of course, that I'm Ron Garcia. So that's this information. Let's talk about, so that's functionality that currently kind of works just like it works in Sage. Now we have some other functionality that is new that clients have asked for, such as this. So for those of you that use the service side or use service receivables, you know that as soon as you create a quote, it creates a work order with a different status. Well, one client feeds a lead system into this into a CRM package that doesn't create a work order until they have been awarded that job. So it doesn't clutter up their service work orders with a different quote, you know, as it's a quote or they didn't get it. They can create leads here. They actually have, when somebody fills out a form on their website and they click submit, it creates a lead in their portal so that then they can go call that client, create a quote. You can print those quotes if they have some dollars on here. This is what the quote would look like. It looks similar to, you know, what you would see. And then once they get awarded, so I'll edit this quote, just kind of see what this looks like. Lead information, is this a new client or an existing client? Are they unqualified? So you can track, you know, some kind of metrics on what kind of leads you're getting, are they qualified or unqualified? Track any information related here, any call notes, create service quotes. This, you know, leverages any line items or assemblies that you have in Sage. So, you know, you can create an assembly here or add an assembly which will add all these items. Print it out, see any activity. And then once you have been awarded that, we can convert this into a work order where we can chart, you know, here's a salesperson, what product is this for? Do we want to schedule on dispatch board for this date's time? And that adds that work order, adds it to your dispatch board, emails the technician, does everything in one fell swoop, gets it out of here and marks it as closed or won. So that's some functionality that doesn't really exist in Sage, but we added it here. We have dashboards, create any number. I know you have dashboards in Sage, but these work a little bit different. So you can see, you know, some information in graphical view, kind of what you're looking for. Leads by source, because we're tracking these leads. Some other information here. Let's see. One client wanted to be able to do forecasting. Now, I know you can enter some forecasting information in Sage, but they didn't like how that worked, so I built this for them. So more or less, this takes, you can create your, or you're not creating a job, but you're selecting a job and you're going to enter your projection against this job. We have multiple views, so if you are a subcontractor, you may show different columns in here. If you're unit-based, you may use a different view, but they all interact the same. So for example, I'm in here and I want to forecast my material. Put a filter on here. The first time you come in here, you may say, you know what, I don't have any projections yet. So I'll project on my material. And really what we're projecting is my cost at completion. So I could copy my original budget to my projection. Now I've already done this for this job. When I get to the end of the job, maybe I want my cost plus my open POs, and I want to use that as my projection. I'm not going to do any of those because I've already done a projection. We do track that our previous projection, which we're tracking, you know, details on who made changes to their projected cost at completion. We can drill down into cost details. I'm sorry, this is changing the projections. Let's say I wanted to make this $800 more material coming, you know, whatever that is. That'll change that projection. Drill down into cost details to see, oh, I don't have any cost on that one. Let's pick one that does. So you could drill down into cost, but you can also track any trending on who did the projection. Now I'm demo account, so I did all these. That's the one I just did just now. So you can track who did what, up or down, to see who, which project manager, for example, is a good forecaster. Dump this to Excel, or I can print this to PDF. Now this is specific to the job that I'm in. So you can see this information. Now across all of my jobs, now this is as of 11/10, as of today. So my cost is as of today. You can also run a WIP report across all your different jobs, say for the end of the month. This will tell you any closed jobs this year. Again, this is super old data, like from 2016 or something. But in my WIP, you'll see if I'm using my projected cost of completion as of this date, then it's in red. And it calculates what my earned revenue is, what my over under billings, what my backlog is. If I haven't done a projection, it shows in black, and it uses my original budget as my basis. So kind of in your projections, you get not only your projection reports specific to the job, but you get a WIP report as of that date. And you can go back and run that WIP for any date that you want. So just some functionality that doesn't really exist in Sage, or it will enhance the functionality. We do have the ability to track time cards, enter time, whether that is for job related or service related. So I'll do, what's today? From the 7th through so this works whether or not you want to add crews. So you can add your crews to your time card and work as it goes through this list. Maybe I'm only dealing with those people. So maybe Dave Jones, that's me, John Davis. Add these people to the crew. You don't have to do this. You can leave these blank if you want to deal and not set up your crew. You can also add job codes that you want to work with. I'll just say I'm on this job. Project specific cost codes. If I have budgets, a lot of clients didn't have budgets set up. They want to be able to use any cost codes. So I'll add these cost codes in here. So you can build this. So you can work on this either whether it's job related or work order related. And then you can enter your time on you have multiple ways to enter, whether this is a daily entry for this day across my entire crew, for example, on the job that I selected in my job codes. If I left that blank, it would be every job. And then they worked on this job, no service ticket, no equipment, regular time, 8 hours, any notes. And you just added time for your crew on a daily basis, or you can enter it weekly. So for this week, for example, my entire crew worked on this job, mobilized, no service ticket, regular time, and they worked 8 hours, 32 hours total. So they have 40 hours. That adds it, 40 hours for each person, and then adds it to the daily. You'll also have other ways to enter: employee, then job entry, job, then employee. So really, depending on how you want to enter that, you have multiple ways to do this. And finally, you submit this. I'm going to submit to Andrew, for example. He would get an email, Andrew, he'd go out there, review that time. This is for this time that I just added. Can run a report or a time sheet for job, by job, and then cost code, or employee across, by employee. And then you can approve this. Once it's approved, it goes over here. Maybe accounting is the one that comes over into this section and pushes it to Sage. And this does add that into Sage in the 551 daily, daily time. I can show you that here. That's the payroll we just added. So for this week, those are the two those 2 employees. So it adds directly into Sage, where you can then create your time cards from here. Some other functionality that may not exist. We have human resources. This is really only for HR people, but you can see raise history. You can see information, related to this employee, certifications, things of that nature. So, being able to see this information for raises as well. We also, you can edit this information, but most clients don't use this piece of it, only to use it for onboarding your employees. Because you have certifications and training that you can track on your employees, we're using that to leverage Safety Center. Now, some of this functionality does exist in Sage, but it's a different way to use it. So, for example, because you have licenses on your employees, we have a grid that shows, when do they expire. You can also get a list. We can set some rules to say, send me an email when every 90 days before all my licenses expire. So you can see this on a grid type format or in a calendar. So that expires September. Let's go back. Oh, there's some in October. So you just see this information basically. So depending on how you want to look at it. You also have training, upcoming training specific to those. And let me go back here. Any training that's upcoming, when is it due? And then I'm adding this for a client that requested it. The ability to do toolbox talks. I'm going to add a lot more. I have about 270 in my library that I need to add. But more or less, you have the ability to track, here's what my toolbox talk is. Here's the subject, the content related to this. You can even embed videos in here. I forgot that one of these has a video. Defibrillation, I think, that one. And watch that video. On your toolbox talk, schedule this, mark the attendees if you're on a job site, and then they can sign off on it. And then that way you can have a record that you did a toolbox talk for any OSHA compliance. Here's who attended, here's their signature, and be able to track that information. Finally, I think I've gone through just about everything, and I'll open it up for questions. We do have support, so any help desk, you have questions about using the portal, we have that, a help desk ticketing system. And then idea exchange. Because I build apps that clients want in collaboration with what they're looking for, I recommend that they use this idea exchange to say, can you build this? Can you add push notifications? Can you add projections? And then all the user base can vote on these. They can ask questions. They can do whatever. And then I'm building applications very quickly that clients want. So add some functionality. So add job projections. I completed that. Import PO items from Excel template. I did that one too. So I want to build the functionality that the clients ask for, and I can build it very quickly. Adds value to that. The last piece of this is company settings. It's super easy to onboard employees. I have a list of all the employees, whether obviously we want current employees, and then we can just click a button. If they have to have an email, I don't have any email set up, but basically an email, you onboard them. It sends them a welcome email. Here's your username. Here's your password, a temporary password. Here's what you can do, and then they're onboarded with a simple click of a button. You can also manage those users for security purposes, for example. So this is me. We have we're adding more and more functionality as far as security, but we do leverage job access. In this case, I'm blank, so I have access to all my jobs, but I could link this to a job access user, this portal user, and then they're based on job access, so they would only see the jobs that they have access to. Attached to multiple databases, and in this case, I'm employee number 6. But we can grant security. I'm a project manager, so I see Project Center. Company admin, I can see everything. So these settings don't matter, but if you wanted a project manager to only enter daily reports or punch lists for their jobs, you could grant only that access, and they would only see that in their menu, and therefore they couldn't access anything else. So that's kind of the security piece of that. Add terms and conditions specific to different documents. So on my lead, my quote, I want these terms and conditions. Or on my service invoice, these are my terms and conditions based on my job type. So you can kind of manage what prints, on your terms and conditions. And then just general settings, what's my logo that I'm going to use on my documents. With that, I'm going to open this up for questions if we have any in the chat.
Thanks, Wes. Let me open up and unmute all of the participants so everybody is unmuted. Anybody have any questions for Wes? Stephen asks, Steve, you can, if you like, you can actually speak. So let me get this. Can PMs create and manage submittals here?
Yes.
That's the question.
Yes, so that's actually a good, I added the ability, a client that very heavily uses submittals. So they can add a new submittal, add line items, but they can also send this out. Now what this does is this particular client, and I haven't seen a lot of clients do this, but they wanted to be able to add routing. So they use the routing tables for submittals and RFIs, and but yes, they can create a submittal, they can add submittal items, they can send that submittal to whomever, it'll go through the list of who's in your job contact list, send them a PDF of that, and then also add to the routing table as well for the submittal.
Well, you're calling my daughter.
Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, Steve's audio is not working.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
his computer, he can hear us, but he cannot speak.
Gotcha.
So I believe that it did answer his question.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any more questions?
Yes, this is Rita from SiteWorks Contracting.
Rita.
My concern is, does this handle just entering journal entries and accounts payable off-site?
It does not. So
It does
that's correct. I haven't had that many requests for accounts payable. There's a lot of other document management solutions on the market. And I don't typically handle any general ledger related transactions.
Okay. So unfortunately, this will not work for me, because what I wanted to be able to do was to be able to work from home. And now I can't do that. All right.
On the accounting side?
On the accounting side, strictly on the accounting side.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. So I do thank you for your time, though. So I'm going to sign off.
Okay. Thank you, Rita.
Okay.
Anyone else? The mics are open.
I can discuss pricing if there's no questions. So as I mentioned, it's an unlimited user model. So, and it does not take a use of Sage. So it's $500 a month, no contract, use it month by month for unlimited users, whether that is a accounting employee, project manager, foreman, superintendent, technician, customers, for payments. Doesn't matter how many users you have. Same flat rate, $500 a month.
Wes, there are a few more questions here.
Okay.
Again, from Stephen. What about multiple companies? We have separate companies in Sage.
Yeah, so we'll just add those companies and you can log into whichever company you'd want. So in this case, for my user, I have access to multiple. And you just select the company that you want to work in, and all the data refreshes based on the data or the company that you're logged into. Same flat rate. Doesn't matter how many companies you have.
Great. Eric is trying to ask a question, and I'm just going to wait to see if he can type it in.
Actually, I think I was muted. I just unmuted
Perfect. We can
myself.
hear you now.
Okay, yes, this is Eric, and I have a question actually. There was a previous question, maybe like two quick questions. There was this question asked a few minutes ago about the general ledger and stuff related. Do you think that in the future you would develop this kind of functionality? For example, like entering general, entries, maybe recurring general entries, or like entering multiple entries. That would be like really, really great. So I'm not sure if any other people, but from the question that was heard before, I think that people need it too. So maybe this would be developed in the future. Another question, I was watching this payroll entry, right?
Mhm.
Now, and export to Sage. Now, is it possible to enter some stuff through the website, some stuff through the Sage? For example, the time cards, the daily time cards that we enter, we have a template in Excel, and then we very quickly for multiple people do copy and paste into the Sage. So this is very, very easy for us. Now, can those but I know that here on the website there are some other additional functionality. So can those can those things be done partially in Sage, partially here, or
Oh yeah.
for example, or all the payroll, for example, will have to be entered through the portal?
No, this would be just for those that you want to use this tool for. But once you send that time over to Sage, you can continue. This is the data that we just sent over. You can enter, just like you had entered this in manually or copied and paste from
Mm-hmm.
Excel. So it doesn't change any of your workflow that you would have in Sage. You can take this up from here. You can enter some data from here or some data from the portal.
Okay. So for example, if I enter some stuff from Sage, right, and then I'm going back to portal, right, I will see what was entered in Sage, right?
Well, on the payroll side, no. So I do
Mm-hmm.
track. The problem with this information is once you create your time cards, this data is deleted. You don't see it anymore. So on the web portal, I have created, on the payroll side, this is just data as it relates to time card information entered in the portal. So you wouldn't be able to see the time card information entered in Sage right now, but I
Mm-hmm.
can certainly add that ability. The problem
Mm-hmm.
is that you lose your audit because once you create your time cards from that daily time, you lose that data. So I wanted to make sure that we could manage it here as well as push it in and then finish the process of running payroll.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now another question, actually, if I may. All those additional functionality, right? Uh, the data that comes with it, it's not saved. I understand that it's not saved in the Sage SQL server, right? It's separate.
Well, actually, the only data that I store in my database is a list of users and what they have access to see. So
Oh,
for
really?
example,
Okay.
on the forecasting, I
Mm-hmm.
create tables in your database, in
Mm-hmm.
Sage database, and so even if you stop, for example, let's say you stop subscribing, you would
Oh,
still
okay.
have that data in your database. You just wouldn't have it, it'd just be raw data that you wouldn't have
Yeah.
the ability to interact with it.
Okay. That's great. Actually, that's great. So then, for example, like using Liberty reports or any other
Mhm.
queries from server SQL server, I will be able to get the information.
Yes,
Okay, that's important. Mm-hmm.
yes, absolutely. So yeah, I do
Um,
create all these tables
okay.
in your system, in
Okay,
your
those are
database.
tables. Are you adding fields to the existing tables, or you add completely new tables, right?
Completely new tables.
Okay, perfect. And the portal also picks up the custom fields, right, from each modules, right? Uh,
Custom fields, yes.
yes, perfect,
As well as
Mm-hmm.
any renamed fields as well. So for example, if you rename a field, I would show that. Maybe here's an example. Let me see. Like, let's say you didn't use this. This is not architecture. You called it something
Mm-hmm.
else. It would pick up that name as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, actually, if I may, well, another question. I don't know. Now, in Sage, there is this module job codes, right? And this is the only module, as far as I know, that doesn't have any custom fields or doesn't have any user-defined fields to store some information, like company, like very specific. And we use a lot of those custom fields for all other modules. Do you think that it would be at some point, or maybe it is possible to actually created any additional uh, uh, um, well additional fields, or they could be stored in different table, but just to be able to see, um, let's say we have one job cost, right? And we have the job cost, we have job, we have phase, we have description, we have date, everything, cost, vendor, etc., or if it's payroll. But then we would see like two other custom fields
that don't exist in your user
then
interface in Sage.
correct.
Absolutely, I can add custom fields to a table and record, even if it doesn't exist in Sage. Now, it would be a separate table, obviously.
But that's enough. That's enough. Okay.
Yeah.
But and then if I click on the specific job cost, I would see the
The
I would
custom
see
fields.
those fields. Yes,
That's
exactly.
correct.
On the portal. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, that's great.
I don't think I have an example to show you that, but yes.
And this is something now. Is those things are this is something easy, right? Or this is how would also when it comes to money, for example, how it works, those little additional things.
Oh, so yeah. So for custom development work, if any client, my general rule of thumb is pretty simple. If this is very, very specific to your company and nobody would need that functionality, it would just be a consulting, like you'd pay a consultant to write a report. If it's functionality that everybody could use, like for example, when I built this forecast or safety or dispatch or payroll, I don't charge for that development. So I'll add those enhancements at no charge.
Okay.
And again, I can do it very quickly. I don't have to get developers involved. I do it all myself.
Okay. Do you think that the general ledger or functionality at some point would be added? I mean, you mentioned that it's mostly like project management things.
Yeah, it started out as a project document side, right, for daily reports, those project center related, and then added functionality for the service side. I'm happy to discuss what you may want to do, probably offline, but I'm not opposed to it, assuming I know what kind of what you're looking for. It wasn't originally built for like financial general ledger type functions. That being said, I'm not saying it can't be done. Just very few people have asked for it, so I want to make sure I understand exactly what you're looking at.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much. Anybody have any other questions? Whether you want to add them into the chat or your mics are still live.
Actually, may I ask one more question?
Of course.
If there's nobody else. Okay. What about exchanging some or synchronizing some information with portals like Procore, for example?
So I don't have any.
This is not a must. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, so Procore takes a kind of an approach, and most other most other products do, where they have their own tables. They have an RFI table, and you have to keep subscribing to Procore in order to see that data, right? They sync certain things. I take a different approach to say, you already have those tables in Sage. Let's just give you the ability to manage the data somewhere else so you don't have to remote in. So I don't have any integration with Procore. I'm assuming that let's have a single source of truth. Let's make Sage 100 Contractor that database, and then I'll give you, tools to be able to manage that data from over the internet. So I'm not sure what functionality you may look for in Procore. I can duplicate a lot of the functionality, but I don't think I will have an integration with Procore to exchange data.
Okay, I see. Okay, no, I mean for us actually, this is not a must. I was just curious. I'm really we are really interested in all those kind of additional custom and fields, you know.
That's great.
Even the one that cannot be done normally inside. Okay.
Well, that's great. Thank you for all these questions. Does anybody have any more questions? Well, if not, we will conclude the webinar, and thank you again for joining us. And everybody have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.